Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Gabe with Indigo Software, genuine Microsoft software for less. In today's video, we're taking you guys through a complete 90 question practice exam for the CompTIA A+ Core 1 exam. Specifically, this is for the 220-1101 exam. Now, we've released a video like this in the past, but this is a different version of the practice exam. We'll be covering several versions of each exam to help you best prepare when you're studying. So if you've already seen our CompTIA A+ Core 1 practice exam, this video is definitely still worth watching because most, if not all of the questions will be entirely different. As always, if you have a question about any of the answers or anything we talk about during the practice exam, just let us know in the comments below and we'll get back with you as soon as we can. Before we get started with this video, if you're interested in purchasing Microsoft Office, Windows 10, Windows 11, remote desktop licenses, or a wide variety of other Microsoft software at a great price, be sure to check out Indigo Software. We'll leave links down below. So without further ado, let's jump in. All right, guys, question one, let's go ahead and get started. You work in the IT department of a large company, and you've been tasked with setting up centralized employee directory that stores information such as phone numbers and email addresses. The directory needs to be accessible by various applications and systems within the organization. Which protocol would you recommend implementing to access information stored in this directory? This answer, I believe, is going to be B, LDAP. Let's go ahead and check the answer. Okay, so for the overall explanation here, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol is a protocol used for accessing and managing information stored in a directory service. It provides a standardized way to interact with directory servers which store and organize structured data. LDAP is commonly used for accessing information directories such as employee phone books, user authentication systems, and network services. All right, let's move on to the next question. An insurance brokerage wants to enhance security by implementing laptops with built-in fingerprint readers. Which of the following options would provide the highest level of security? And I believe the correct answer based on the other answers here is restrict device access to only the user to whom the laptop is assigned. Let's see if that's right. Yep, so that is correct as well. By restricting device access to only the user assigned to the laptop, you can ensure that only authorized individuals can use the laptop and access its data. This approach enhances security by tying the fingerprint reader directly to the user's identity, making it more difficult for unauthorized users to gain access. In Microsoft Windows, the $ appended to the end of a name of a network share indicates that the share folder or drive is, and the correct answer here is hidden. The $ appended to the end of a name of a network share in Microsoft Windows indicates that the share folder or drive is hidden. Which of the characters listed below indicates that a Windows network share is intended for administrative access? This is basically the last question. So the $, if something is hidden like that, is typically going to be reserved for administrator access. So by appending the $ to the end of the share name, it is visually clear that the network share is meant for the administration and should not be accessed by regular users. In a network infrastructure upgrade project, you are implementing IPv6 addressing. As a part of the configuration, you need to determine the maximum number of IPv6 addresses that can be assigned to a single IPv6 interface. What is the maximum number of addresses that can be assigned to one IPv6 interface? And this is a bit of a trick question here, but the correct answer is actually D, none of the above. In IPv6, there's no strict limit on the number of addresses that can be assigned to a single IPv6 interface. An IPv6 interface can have multiple addresses of different types, including unicast, anycast, and multicast addresses. The number of addresses that can be assigned to an interface depends on various factors, such as network configuration, network stack limitations, and administrative policies. A user reports that the external webcam connected to their laptop is not displaying any image or video when using the webcam software. What should be the first troubleshooting step for a technician to perform? And the correct answer here is to reseat the webcam by disconnecting and reconnecting it. This involves physically unplugging it and plugging it back into the laptop, which can resolve connectivity or power issues. Now, if this step does not solve the problem, the technician can then move on to restarting the computer or potentially running system diagnostics to check for hardware or software issues. Updating the webcam firmware or reinstalling the webcam software and drivers can be done as subsequent steps if reseating the webcam does not work. In a corporate network, each computer is assigned to a unique identifier that enables communication with other devices on the network. What is the name of this logical numeric identifier assigned to every computer host or other device on a TCP/IP based network. This is the fancy description of an IP address. An IP address, Internet Protocol address, is a logical numeric identifier assigned to every computer host or device on a TCP IP-based network. It serves as a unique identifier that allows devices to communicate with each other over a network using the Internet Protocol. Which of the following IP addresses would not be valid for a DNS server on the Internet? Correct answer here, I believe, is A. Yes, so the IP address 10.25.11.33 is not a valid IP address for a DNS server on the Internet. It belongs to the IP address range defined by RFC 1918, specifically the range 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Private IP addresses are meant for use within private networks and are not routable over the public internet. In Windows 10 settings, Xbox and PC gaming options can be accessed via. This one is pretty straightforward. The answer is A, Windows Start Settings Gaming. A user acquired a new workstation and is attempting to open multiple large Excel files simultaneously. The user is not experiencing the expected performance when executing such large requests. Which of the following should the technician do first? Well, we might think that the answer is upgrading the CPU or potentially the RAM. It's telling us that they're specifically opening multiple large Excel files at the same time. So I believe the correct answer is A, to increase the swap partition. Okay, so that was correct. A swap file, aka virtual memory, is kind of file stored on a hard disk or SSD where the RAM data is written when it becomes insufficient for the correct functioning of the operating system. To better understand what this is, let's look at a real example. Suppose you have a few tabs open in your browser. For the operation of any tab, the system allocates the amount of RAM needed to display its contents correctly. Naturally, the more complex the content on the page, the more RAM is needed. But what to do if there are several heavy programs running on your computer, several tabs in the browser, and you need to open more, but your computer starts lagging? In such situation, the system will copy the data of not used at the moment tabs and write them on the hard disk into the swap file. After that, the data will be unloaded from the RAM and it will be free for other tasks. If you need to open any of the above browser tabs again, the system will read the data from the swap file and copy them back to RAM. An engineer is experiencing unexpected reboots on a graphics workstation when rendering complex 3D models. The workstation is configured with a 115-volt power supply that is rated at 200 watts and connected to a UPS. The central processing unit contains 16 hyper-threaded cores, and a discrete graphics solution utilizing an 8-pin power connector is installed in a PCI Express 16 slot. Which of the following indicates where the technician should begin troubleshooting? It sounds like we're getting bogged down by the power supply and that 200 watts is insufficient if the GPU is heavily tasked. So I believe that's the correct answer. And yes, that is correct. So the technician should begin troubleshooting by focusing on option B, the power supply, as 200 watts is insufficient when the GPU is heavily tasked. The unexpected reboots experienced during the rendering of complex 3D models suggest that the system might be drawing more power than the power supply can provide. The configuration includes a workstation with a discrete graphics solution and 16 hyper-threaded CPU cores, which can consume significant power during resource-intensive tasks like rendering. The power supply is rated at 200 watts, which might not be sufficient to support the overall power requirements of the system, particularly when the graphics card is heavily tasked. Rendering complex 3D models can put a significant load on the GPU, which in turn demands more power. To address this issue, the technician should consider upgrading the power supply to a higher wattage capacity that can adequately handle the power demands of the system during resource-intensive tasks. This would help prevent unexpected reboots caused by power supply inadequacy. In a large office building, there are multiple departments that need to maintain separate network environments while sharing the same physical network infrastructure. The IT team wants to ensure network segmentation and isolation for each department. Which of the following technologies would be most suitable to allow multiple networks to traverse a switch in this scenario? And the correct answer here is VLAN. VLAN is a technology that allows multiple networks to traverse a switch. It enables the segmentation of a physical network into multiple virtual networks, each functioning as its own independent network. By configuring VLANs on a switch, network traffic can be separated and isolated, improving security, performance, and management flexibility. An end user reports that the time and date on a desktop resets after shutdown and subsequently the device reboots. The next day, the desktop does not load the OS and is stuck at a black screen with the following message: date/time not set, press F1 to run setup. Which of the following would be the best action to take next? And the correct answer for this is to replace the CMOS battery. The message date and time not set is often related to a dead or failing CMOS battery, which is used to store the BIOS settings, including the date and time. Replacing the battery could resolve the issue and allow the desktop to boot into the operating system. A technician is upgrading a faulty motherboard that was ordered by an end user for an old high-end desktop computer. However, the technician is unable to install the CPU into the socket. Upon closer inspection, the technician notices the pins on the CPU do not line up with the socket. Which of the following would be the best course of action for the technician to take next? And there are basically two answers that I'm looking at here, and these are the bottom two. So trying to set as many pins as possible would likely break the processor, so that's not a good answer. And an adapter to create a universal socket is not really a thing. So verifying the socket type and manufacturer, that sounds like a good answer. Finding a compatible motherboard for the CPU also sounds like a good answer, but I think this one needs to come first. Yes, that answer is correct according to CompTIA here. So when the pins on the CPU do not line up with the sockets, it indicates a compatibility issue between the CPU and the motherboard. And to resolve this, the technician should first confirm the socket type and manufacturer of the motherboard. And this information can typically be found on the motherboard's documentation or by checking the model number or specifications of the motherboard. Which of the answers listed below refers to a system containing mappings of domain names to various types of data, such as numerical IP addresses? And this one is kind of in the name. It is DNS. So DNS, otherwise known as domain name system, is a system that contains mappings of domain names to various types of data, such as numerical IP addresses. It is a fundamental component of the internet infrastructure and is responsible for translating human-readable domain names, such as google.com, into the corresponding IP addresses that computers use to communicate over the network. In a network environment, the workstations are configured to obtain their IP addresses automatically from a DHCP server. However, one of the workstations is experiencing connectivity issues and cannot communicate with other computers on the network. The IP address assigned to this workstation is 169.254.1.18. What could be the most likely problem causing this issue? And I believe the correct answer is D, the workstation is unable to reach the DHCP server. Yes, that is correct. The address assigned to the computer is an APIPA address. Microsoft client computers and others will configure themselves with an address in this range if they are unable to reach a DHCP server. In Windows 11 Settings app, Xbox and PC gaming options can be accessed via. This answer is similar to the one that we did earlier for Windows 10, I believe it was. So it's going to be the start menu icon, settings, and gaming. Shielded twisted pair cabling reduces what kind of interference? For this, we're supposed to select two answers. If you remember from learning about internet cables, it's crosstalk and EMI. Those are the two. Crosstalk STP cabling uses shielding such as metal foil or braided copper around each twisted pair of wires. The shielding helps to reduce the crosstalk, which is the interference caused by adjacent wire pairs. Crosstalk can degrade the quality of signals transmitted over the wires. And then EMI, or electromagnetic interference, and the shielding and STP cabling also helps to minimize the impact of external electromagnetic interference. EMI can come from various sources such as nearby electrical equipment, power lines, or other electrical devices. The shielding and STP cabling helps to block or reduce the effects of EMI, maintaining signal integrity and reducing potential disruptions. What is the maximum allowable length for a Thunderbolt copper cable? And the correct answer is up to 3 meters. So for that one, we just have to remember that it is a specified length of 3 meters. A remote worker is experiencing connectivity issues with their local internet provider. Despite the technician's attempt to resolve the problem by rebooting the modem provided by the ISP, the issue persists. The remote worker urgently needs internet access to continue their work. Which of the following options would be the best choice to quickly establish a connection? And the correct answer here is mobile hotspot. Using a mobile hotspot can be an effective solution in situations where the primary internet connection is experiencing issues. It allows the user to bypass the problematic local internet provider and establish a connection through an alternative network source. Which of the following TCP ports 20/21 and transfers data in clear text? And this answer, I believe, is FTP. And yes, that is correct. An email administrator wants to enhance the security of their organization's email server and protect against server spoofing and spam. They've been advised that using a TXT record in their DNS server can help achieve this. To authenticate emails using an encrypted security key, which TXT record would be the most appropriate choice? I believe the answer to this question is D. DKIM authenticates messages from email servers using private public encrypted key pairs. SPF authenticates via IP addresses. DMARC is a text record that allows an administrator to specify how they want rejected emails to be handled. And VLAN is a virtual LAN and is not a text record type. The advantages that TCP, or Transmission Control Protocol, has over UDP, User Datagram Protocol, are choose 2. Believe the correct answers here are acknowledged delivery and virtual circuits. And yes, that is correct. So TCP is a connection-oriented protocol that establishes virtual circuits and acknowledges delivery of packets. Because of these features, it has a higher overhead than UDP and is potentially a little slower. A company wants to give third-party developers access to the corporate network through desktop environments that the company can control. Which of the following can best achieve these requirements? And that would be a virtual desktop, so VDI. VDI allows organizations to host virtual desktops on a central server or cloud infrastructure, which can be accessed by authorized users remotely. With VDI, the company can provide third-party developers with controlled desktop environments that are separate from their own physical machines. This allows the company to maintain control over the network, applications, and data while granting access to developers. A technician is troubleshooting a connectivity issue with a Cat5 cable that is connected to a network jack. The cable works intermittently and then fails when it's moved around. Which two items must the technician use to fix the issue? And these are the tools that the technician would actually be using to essentially replace the connection. And so for that, we need an RJ45 connector. This is the connection type of Ethernet cables, and a crimper. And again, just reiterating that this could be due to a loose or damaged RJ45 connector. And the technician should cut off the existing connector and attach a new connector to the cable. The SATA interface specification defines data cable connector consisting of, and this is 7 pins. So again, SATA interface specification defines that a SATA defines a data cable connector consisting of 7 pins. This connector is used to establish a data connection between a SATA device such as a hard drive or an SSD and the motherboard or controller. The 7-pin connector is designed to provide a secure and reliable connection for the data transmission. A common cabling type for connecting workstations to network devices is referred to as, and we're selecting 2 answers here. I believe it's a straight through cable and a crossover cable. My apologies, I actually selected the wrong answer there. It is straight through cable and patch cable. Patch cables are commonly used to connect workstations to network devices such as switches, routers, or patch panels. They're typically short in length and have connectors on both ends. Straight through cables are used to connect workstations to network devices such as switches or routers. They have the same pinout configuration on both ends, meaning the wire connections are straight through from one end to another. You are manually configuring the network settings on a computer for a small office network. An administrator provides you with the IP addresses of the router that connects the office network to the internet. In TCP/IP networking, what is the term used to refer to the router's IP address in this context? And you've probably heard this before. This is called the default gateway. So this is the IP address of the router that connects the local network to other networks or the internet. When manually configuring a TCP/IP host, specifying the default gateway allows the host to send packets to destinations outside of its own network. The default gateway serves as the exit point for network traffic that is not destined for the local network. You need to establish a direct connection between 2 PCs in your office. What type of Ethernet cable would you use for this purpose? And this is the one I was thinking of earlier, just a few questions ago. This is the crossover cable. A crossover cable is specifically designed to connect 2 similar devices directly together, such as 2 PCs, without the need for an intermediate device like a switch or a router. In a crossover cable, the transmit and receive pairs at one end of the cable are crossed or swapped with the corresponding pairs at the other end. And this configuration allows for direct communication between both devices. An organization is looking to upgrade the processing ability for its computers. Most users report that whenever multiple applications are being utilized, the system's response time slows down dramatically. When only one application is open, the response time is acceptable. Which of the following should be upgraded first? And the correct answer for this question is RAM. By upgrading the RAM, the system will have more memory available to accommodate the demands of multiple applications. This allows for smoother multitasking as more data can be stored in RAM, reducing the reliance on slower disk access. A network administrator needs to manage and monitor various routers and switches in a large corporate network. Which network protocol would the administrator use for the administration of these networking devices, and which ports does it typically use? And this one is going to be ASNMP 161 and 162. Simple Network Management Protocol is used for networking device administration and management, and it uses ports 161 and 162. Which of the following wireless IEEE standards operate on the 2.4 gigahertz radio frequency and are directly compatible with each other? It's going to be 802.11b and G. Both operate on 2.4 gigahertz and are directly compatible, and they use similar transmission standards. Some legacy devices are listed as 802.11b/G, meaning they will work with either system. Alternatively, 802.11a and 802.11ac operate in the 5 gigahertz range. Which of the following protocols is responsible for resolving IP addresses to hardware addresses? And if you remember some of these acronyms, this one is the Address Resolution Protocol, resolution being part of the question here. And so that's kind of how I remember this one. That's ARP. So the Address Resolution Protocol resolves IP addresses to hardware or MAC addresses. RARP does the reverse. It resolves MAC addresses to IP addresses. DNS resolves host names to IP addresses, and DHCP automatically configures TCP IP clients. Client-side virtualization guest machines have security requirements similar to physical machines, but they also need to ensure separation from other guest machines. Which of the following best describes the client-side guest security requirement? And this one is kind of in the name. The answer is isolation. Isolation refers to the ability to separate and protect individual guest machines from each other. In client-side virtualization, multiple guest machines run on the same physical host, and it's crucial to maintain strict isolation between them to prevent unauthorized access or interference. Each guest machine should operate independently and securely without being able to access or affect the other guest machines running on the same host. A technician needs to improve a workstation's overall response time for frequently used applications and data without removing the current hard drive. Which of the following storage devices should the technician install to best accomplish this objective? Correct answer here is M.2. So M.2 is a type of solid state drive that provides faster storage and retrieval times compared to traditional hard disk drives. It's a newer technology that is faster and more efficient than HDDs, making it a great option for improving the overall response time for frequently used applications and data. Installing an M.2 drive would provide a significant boost to the workstation's performance without having to remove the current hard drive. What is the maximum allowable cable length for a USB 2.0? Correct answer here is 5 meters. The maximum allowable cable length for USB 2.0 is 5 meters, or approximately 16.4 feet. Beyond this length, the signal quality may deteriorate, leading to potential data transmission issues. It's important to adhere to the recommended cable length to ensure reliable and optimal performance of USB 2.0 devices. Recently, an organization received a number of spam emails that passed through the spam gateway. These emails contained generally the same information, but the sending domains were different. Which of the following solutions would best help mitigate the issue? Correct answer is D, verifying that DMARC is enabled. DMARC is designed to fit into an organization's existing inbound email authentication process. The way it works is to help email receivers determine if the purported message aligns with what the receiver knows about the sender, reduce stressful phishing delivery. In other words, it validates authenticity of incoming emails. Looks like the company is receiving phishing emails from multiple fake senders. A user connects a smartphone to a laptop. Which of the following types of networks has the user created? So when we're thinking about things that are very close relation to each other, like a phone and a laptop, a phone and an iPad, we're talking about a personal area network. This is a whole section of learning when you study the CompTIA A+ material. And the correct answer is P, so PAN. And just try to kind of remember the first letter here. So we have PAN for personal, LAN is local area network, and we'll go through the other ones a little bit later. You are in charge of upgrading a company's wireless network from Wi-Fi 5 802.11ac to Wi-Fi 6 802.11ax. The company has a large number of users and wants to improve network performance and user experience. As you plan the upgrade, you consider the following statements. Which one is not correct? So the only thing that is not correct here is that fewer users will be able to use each access point. That is not correct. Wi-Fi 6, also known as 802.11ax, is designed to improve network performance and efficiency compared to Wi-Fi 5. It introduces several advancements such as higher data rates, increased capacity, and power efficiency. However, one of the key features of Wi-Fi 6 is its ability to handle a larger number of devices simultaneously, making it more efficient in crowded environments. Several users who share a multifunction printer in an office have reported unintended thin vertical lines that cover the entire height of every page printed from the printer. Which of the following steps should a technician complete in order to most likely resolve the issue? And the correct answer here is perform the drum cleaning procedure. Vertical or horizontal lines, marks that appear in the same place, referred to as repetitive defects, are often due to dirty feed rollers. Note that there are rollers in the toner cartridge and a fuser unit too, or a damaged or dirty photosensitive drum. The fiber optic Thunderbolt interface allows for a maximum cable length of... The correct answer here is 60 meters. Which of the digital visual interface versions does not provide support for digital signal transmission? The correct answer is DVI-A. DVI-A does not provide support for digital signal transmission. It is an analog-only version of DVI and it is primarily used for transmitting analog video signals. DVI-A cables have 15 pins and can be used to connect devices with VGA ports to devices with DVI-A ports. However, DVI-A does not support the transmission of digital signals, such as those used in digital monitors or displays. The SATA interface specification defines a power connector consisting of, and this one is 15 pins. So the SATA interface specification defines a power connector that consists of 15 pins. This power connector is used to provide electrical power to SATA devices such as hard drives, SSDs, and optical drives. The SATA power connector is designed to be compact and efficient, allowing for easy connection and disconnection of devices. It provides the necessary power supply for the SATA device to operate correctly within the computer system. You have just installed a wireless router on your home network. Which of the following should you do to make it highly secure? And it wants us to choose all that apply. The first two that are standing out to me are changing the SSID or the Wi-Fi name and changing the default administrator name and password. Again, it's saying that we should always change the default administrator name and password, as well as the default SSID when installing a new wireless router. Enabling encryption is also a good idea, but WA, WPA2, and WPA3 are better options than WEP. The channel has nothing to do with security. Which of the following should the data center hardware technician implement to ensure maximum uptime for customers' virtual machines? Correct answer here is uninterruptible power supply. To ensure maximum uptime for customers' virtual machines, a data center hardware technician should implement an uninterruptible power supply, or a UPS. A UPS is a device that provides backup power to critical equipment in the event of a power outage or fluctuation. It acts as a bridge between the main power source and the equipment, ensuring a continuous and stable power supply. By using a UPS, the technician can prevent disruptions and ensure that virtual machines remain operational even during power-related issues. This helps maintain high availability and uptime for customers' virtual machines. Which of the printers will display an error that says replace filament? And this is for a 3D printer. 3D printers use filaments, often made of plastic, to build three-dimensional objects. Which of the following can be described as a mobile device sharing its internet connection with other Wi-Fi capable devices? This is what we call a mobile hotspot, like we talked about earlier. A mobile hotspot, when enabled, allows a mobile device to share its internet connection with other Wi-Fi capable devices, and this is known as Wi-Fi tethering. Which of the following video connectors accepts digital and analog video signals only? This is DVI-I. DVI-I accepts analog and digital video signals. All DVI ports are video only. They do not support audio. DVI-D is digital only, and as you may guess from the D and from the A is analog only. HDMI can accept video and audio signals. HDMI Type B is known as double bandwidth. It supports higher resolutions than Type A. In RAID 5 array of hard drives, how many can fail without losing the entire array? And the correct answer is 1. One hard drive can fail in a RAID 5 array, and the array can rebuild the drive's data from the remaining drives. However, if the second drive fails, the array is toast. The reason is that the array requires the parity information from all the other drives. You need to replace an LCD on a defective laptop. Which of the following are components of an LCD? An LCD has a screen and an inverter. And yes, that is correct. A client has a laptop with which you are unfamiliar. You are asked to perform a memory upgrade. How can you obtain the service manual for this laptop computer? The correct answer is usually going to be by searching the manufacturer's website. Which of the modern GPU types offers the highest performance? Now, I'm not sure why the same answer is in here twice. I guess I'll just go with the first one. Oh, I see. It was PCIe versus PCI. So the PCI Express slot is the correct answer. Which password attack takes advantage of a predefined list of words? This one is kind of in the name. Dictionary is a list of words, and so it's a dictionary attack. Which of the following answers refers to Windows 10 sign-in options that rely on inheritance-based authentication factors? And these two are fingerprint and facial recognition. So think biometrics is basically what it's asking about, and that's going to be the first two. You've been asked to set up a client-side virtualization on a computer at work. The manager asks for a type 2 hypervisor. What is the disadvantage of using that type of hypervisor? And the main problem with type 2 hypervisors is that the guest OS will compete for resources with the host OS. Which sign-in options in Windows 10 rely on knowledge-based authentication factors? So basically, this is the opposite of the other question that we just had. And the correct answers are going to be username, PIN, and password. A SATA data cable can be used to connect a motherboard slot with, and this is for only one device. A company is implementing enhanced security measures and decides to enable two-factor authentication for its employees. The IT department is tasked with setting up the authentication method. Which of the following options would be the most appropriate two-factor authentication method to implement? For this one, we're looking for password/thumbprint. You could kind of go either way with some of these, but I believe this is the answer CompTIA wants us to choose. Using a combination of password and fingerprint scan provides an extra layer of security. The password serves as something the user knows, while fingerprint scan acts as a unique biometric identifier, something the user is. This combination helps verify the user's identity more effectively and mitigates the risk of unauthorized access. Which of the following best describes the main function of a web server? The main function would be storing files and controlling user access. A user brings an older laptop to the help desk and reports issues with the keyboard. Upon inspection, the technician does not see any external damages, but notices that many keystrokes do not register in a word processor. The laptop works fine when the technician tests it with an external keyboard. Which of the following actions would most likely resolve the issue? The answer here is to clean the keyboard. Keyboards, while they might look fine on the outside, they can collect a lot of dust underneath the keys, especially if you're using switches, and doing regular cleaning will help the keyboard work well. Or if it's not working, cleaning can oftentimes help it. An administrator is configuring a corporate-owned smartphone for a new manager. The company requires the ability to wipe the phone's data remotely in the event of loss or theft, and the capability to approve applications installed on the phone. Which of the following tools would best meet this need? And this one is pretty straightforward as well. It's just going to be mobile device management. A desktop support technician is tasked with upgrading a laptop so that it has the fastest data access possible. Which of the following best satisfies this requirement? Like we talked about earlier, M.2 and specifically an NVMe SSD is going to be the best option available currently. A Microsoft online service used for patching up system vulnerabilities, improving system performance, and fixing coding errors found in Windows software is known as... This is what we call Windows Update. Which of the answers listed below refers to an SSO account type? So we have standard guest or administrator. And so Microsoft, by process of elimination, is the only one that's different here. And that's kind of how I go about determining this answer. You want your computer to boot off the network and have the capability to be brought out of sleep mode over the network. Which two technologies should be implemented in the BIOS? Correct answer here, I believe, is PXC and WOL. It stands for Wake on LAN. To configure the BIOS to boot off the network, you have to enable the pre-boot execution environment, PXE, network adapter. To allow the computer to be brought out of sleep mode by another system on the network, you need to configure Wake on LAN in the BIOS. Users report that they have to select the output tray at the printer, even though the correct tray is selected in the print dialog. Which of the following should a technician perform first to attempt to solve the problem? And the correct answer here is to reinstall the driver on the print server. A customer tells you that a networked printer is not printing documents. You successfully ping the printer's IP address. Which of the following is the most likely cause of this problem? And we're selecting the two best answers here. One of the problems would likely be that the printer is out of paper. And I think the other answer is that the spooler is not functioning. Yes, that was correct. So the printer could simply be out of paper or the spooler could be malfunctioning. If the printer is out of paper, fill all trays and suggest that the user check the trays every couple of days or so. And if the spooler is not functioning, you should restart the spooler service in the services console window or in the command prompt with the net stop spooler and net start spooler commands. A customer has a home office. Which of the following technologies would benefit from the use of QoS? And I think the correct answer here would be Voice over IP. Voice over IP is a streaming telephone application. Streaming applications such as VoIP and online games can benefit from QoS. QoS stands for quality of service, which is the capability to provide different priorities to different applications or computers. It guarantees network bandwidth for real-time streaming of media applications such as VoIP. Which of the following should be checked when a laptop fails to turn on? We're selecting the 4 best answers. We're going to want to check the power button. We may want to check hibernate mode. We may want to check AC adapter, and we also may want to check the power LED. Yes, that is correct. Check the power LED on the laptop first and see what it's doing. It could be that simply the user wasn't pressing the power button. If it blinks slowly once in a while, the laptop might be in a sleep state. Then check the power light on the AC adapter. Make sure the AC adapter is getting power. If it is, check whether it is the right adapter. Check whether the system is in hibernate mode by pressing and holding the power button. And finally, the power button might be faulty, so make sure it isn't loose. If no AC adapter is available, you should also check whether the battery is connected properly and charged. A computer just had a memory upgrade installed. After the computer is booted, it does not recognize the new memory, even though it is listed as being compatible on the manufacturer's website. Which of the following steps should be performed to resolve the issue? And the correct answer here is a UEFI/BIOS update. You should update the UEFI/BIOS if it hasn't been updated in a while. It probably won't recognize the newer memory modules. You are troubleshooting what you believe to be a power issue. Which of the following should be tested first? The correct answer is the IEC cable. Check the IEC cable first if you sense that there is a power issue. That is the power cable for the computer. Make sure it's connected to the computer and to the AC outlet. A CAD/CAM workstation running AutoCAD is displaying rotating 3D images very slowly. The customer needs the images to rotate quickly and smoothly. Which of the following should be upgraded on the computer? Correct answer here would be the video card. The video card should be your first stop on upgrading Express Train. Images that do not display properly are usually due to a subpar video card. CAD/CAM workstations require a powerful video card. I'll leave up the remaining answer for a few extra moments here. Which of the following devices is used to implement network security for an IT environment? Correct answer here is firewall. Firewall is used to implement security for the computer network. For example, access control lists, ACLs, that allow or deny incoming and outgoing traffic. A systems administrator wants to take advantage of the benefits of major cloud providers while retaining some data and services in the local data center. Which of the following types of cloud model should the administrator consider? Correct answer here would be hybrid. A hybrid cloud model is a cloud computing model that combines the benefits of both public and private clouds. In a hybrid cloud model, some data and services are kept in the local data center, while other data and services are moved to the cloud. This allows the systems administrator to take advantage of the scalability, flexibility, and cost effectiveness of public cloud while retaining control over sensitive data and critical services. I'll leave the remaining answer up for a few seconds. A corporation maintains an active social media presence by constantly upgrading audio and video. The corporation also regularly hosts video conferences, but attendees are reporting buffering during their telecasts. Which of the following should an IT department do to improve the ability to attend video conferences without interruption? Correct answer here is to, again, enable quality of service on network traffic. QoS allows administrators to prioritize certain network traffic by assigning a higher priority to it. Higher priority traffic may come from a specific server or a specific application. This is used a lot with voice over IP, telephone calls over a computer network, to ensure that the voice data gets through and that the connection doesn't sound garbled. A technician wants to set up a virtual machine in a public cloud environment. Which of the following cloud models should the technician use? Correct answer is IaaS. Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS, provides the basic building blocks of computing infrastructure such as virtual machines, storage, and networking as a service over the internet. It allows users to rent computing resources on demand and pay for only what they use, rather than investing in their own hardware and infrastructure. With IaaS, the technician can create and manage virtual machines in the cloud, as well as configure networking and storage resources to support the VM. The cloud provider takes care of the physical infrastructure, such as the servers and data centers, while the user is responsible for managing the operating system, applications, and data within the virtual machine. The technician is setting up a laptop and projector for a presentation. When plugging in the projector, it mirrors the desktop screen from the laptop, but everything appears distorted and compressed. Which of the following should the technician do to correct the appearance of the image on the projector? The correct answer for this is to change the desktop resolution. Distorted image geometry, check the OS refresh rate and resolution settings, and it needs to match the display specifications. One of the users at your organization will be attending several day-long conferences and wants to make sure a mobile device will have enough power for the events. There will be a lack of AC outlet availability, and the user needs to continuously use the mobile device throughout the event. The user also needs to access the mobile device's USB port to access flash drives and access the internet to get updates. What should you recommend to the user? Now, based on this scenario, I believe it's going to be a wireless charging pad or a built-in battery case. Let's just see if it's the wireless charging pad. Of the listed answers, the best option is to use a wireless charging pad for the mobile device. It can be charged before each event and work as a good portable solution. One of your coworkers just installed a newer, more powerful video card in a customer's computer. The computer powers down before it completes the boot process. Before the installation, the computer works normally. Which of the following is most likely the cause of this problem? And the correct answer, I believe, is that the power supply is not providing enough wattage for the new video card. So similar scenario to a question that we had earlier. Yes, that is correct. So today's video cards can be very powerful and might require a more powerful power supply than is in the computer currently. A user asks you to explain a message that comes up on the computer display before the operating system boots. The message states that the UEFI/BIOS logged a chassis intrusion. Which of the following would be the best explanation to the user? Basically, the computer case has been opened is a simplified way to communicate our issue above. Yeah, so a chassis intrusion means that the computer case has been opened. Some UEFI/BIOS programs have the ability to detect this. A user reports that a laser printer is printing poorly. You observe that the pages have wrinkles and random patterns of missing print. Which of the following is most likely the cause of this problem? It sounds like the fuser needs to be replaced. And yes, that is correct. The wrinkled pages are the number one indicator that the fuser needs to be replaced. Random patterns of missing print further indicate that the fuser is not working properly. If you note that the toner is not being fused to the paper, that would be sort of like the last clue. The fuser usually needs to be replaced every 200,000 pages or so on a laser printer. A customer has two 8GB sticks of 2400 speed DDR4 installed in slots 1 and 2 of a computer and wants to add more RAM. The customer purchases two additional 4GB sticks of 3200 speed DDR4 and then installs it in slots 3 and 4. While installing the RAM into the board, the user notices that the board has quad channel etched near the RAM slots. Which of the following can be said about the user's channel configuration after upgrading the RAM? This answer is pretty simple. Since the user has just inserted two additional RAM sticks into slots 3 and 4, the computer is now utilizing 4 channels. Okay, so it's telling me that this is the correct answer, but I read the explanation here and I believe the correct answer is actually B. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the full explanation for you guys so that there isn't any confusion about this. The customer's computer has a total of 4 RAM slots and currently has two 8GB sticks, 2400 speed DDR4 installed in slots 1 and 2. The customer wants to add more RAM and purchases two additional 4GB sticks of 3200 speed DDR4 to install into slots 3 and 4. When upgrading the RAM, it's important to consider the maximum speed and capacity supported by the motherboard as well as the number of channels available. In this case, the customer's motherboard has quad channel memory architecture, which means that it can support up to 4 channels of RAM. Each channel consists of one or more memory modules, and the more channels that are used, the higher the potential bandwidth between the memory and the CPU. The customer's current configuration only has 2 RAM modules installed in 1 and 2, which means that the computer is currently only utilizing one channel. The two new 4GB sticks that the customer purchased are installed in slots 3 and 4, which means that they will be on a separate channel from the original 2 sticks. It's worth noting that when mixing different speed and capacity RAM modules, the motherboard will typically run all the modules at the speed of the slowest module. In this case, the 3200 speed RAM will run at 2400 speed to match the speed of the existing RAM. Therefore, the correct answer is B. The computer is utilizing 2 channels. While the motherboard has the potential to use up to 4, the current configuration only has 2 channels in use. Which of the following would provide power to an access point? And this is the Power over Ethernet injector. Power over Ethernet is a technology that allows power and data to be transmitted over a single Ethernet cable. A Power over Ethernet injector is a device that injects power into the Ethernet cable, allowing the access point to receive power and data simultaneously. This method eliminates the need for a separate power cable, making installation more straightforward and convenient. Virtual machines hosted in the cloud that are used by developers to code applications are an example of. And this is PaaS, which is Platform as a Service. This is a cloud computing module that provides developers with platform to develop, run, and manage their applications without the need to build and maintain underlying infrastructure. In this model, the cloud provider manages the infrastructure, including the servers, storage, and networking, while the developers focus on developing and deploying their applications. I'll leave up the rest of the answer here for a few extra seconds. An employee's laptop will not power on. When the power button is pressed, the power light goes on and then suddenly off. A technician replaces the battery and the laptop powers on. The employee works without issues until the end of the day, but the laptop presents the same problem the next morning. Which of the following is the most probable cause of the issue? Sounds like the most probable cause is a damaged AC adapter. So this is the most correct answer. Most likely the adapter is not charging the battery and or possibly damaging it. Swollen battery is incorrect as the battery has already been replaced. Properly seated RAM would likely cause the computer to fail to boot but not impact power. And fan failure is incorrect as the shutdown would have occurred sooner on the same day and not immediately on the following day. Hard drive failure is incorrect as the issue did not replicate immediately upon replacing the battery. A bank employee contacts the help desk for assistance with setting up a new computer. Which of the following peripherals would the technician most likely install alongside the device? For this, we're supposed to select 2. So the correct answer would be signature pad and I believe a web camera. And this would basically allow them to communicate with the person. Based on the given scenario, the technician is most likely to install peripherals that are commonly used in the banking industry. A customer reports that a computer is very loud and occasionally turns itself off. The computer is located under a desk directly on top of the carpet. Which of the following steps should be performed to remedy this situation? And for this, we want to remove the carpet from the floor and clean the inside of the computer. The biggest issue is that the computer being on the bottom, it doesn't have a chance to vent. And so it's basically sucking up all the dust through the fan that is down by the power supply unit. And so this can eventually lead to a problem if it's untreated for long enough. And so based on the explanation here, we want to remove the computer, take it outside, removing the biggest dust bunnies, which you will undoubtedly find, use compressed air and anti-static vacuum, and that should fix the noise problem. There's probably a lot of dust and dirt in one or more of the fans. Also remember to wear a dust mask when dealing with dusty computers. In addition, a clogged CPU fan can cause the CPU to overheat, resulting in the computer turning itself off. A coworker notices that the battery light on a laptop is flashing when the laptop is in a docking station. Which of the following steps should be performed to fix the problem? And the correct answer here is pretty simple. We need a reseat in the docking station. You should first attempt reseating the laptop in the docking station. The laptop probably doesn't have a sturdy connection, resulting in a blinking battery light telling you that the laptop is not charging properly or even at all. You print an image to your printer, but the page shows a ghosted image. Which of the following could be the cause? The most likely answer here is that the drum needs replacing. And last question, which of the following steps should be taken when a printer fails to print very large documents, but still prints smaller documents without problem? This one is similar to some of those computer questions, but I believe the answer is to add memory to the printer. And yes, that was correct. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have any questions about anything that we went over, feel free to drop those in the comments below and we'll get back with you as soon as we can. Again, if you're interested in purchasing genuine Microsoft software at a great price, be sure to check out Indigo Software. We'll have all the links down below. As our channel grows, we're constantly looking for new video topic ideas to make. If there's a video you would like to see, we strongly encourage you to let us know in the comments below. Most viewer commented requests get made into actual videos on the channel. And lastly, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated as it helps to support our channel. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys next time.